Most people think you need to save for years and buy a house before you can launch Airbnb. That is the slowest way to start this business. And I started at 22 years old with no property ownership. And in 90 days, my one property generated $14,000 in revenue. I'm gonna share with you the exact 5 steps that I took to start this business with no experience, no real estate license, and all I had is a college degree that has nothing to do with this business. So let's get right into it. If you're new here, my name's Ayana, and I went from a corporate dropout to now a CEO, 5-figure Airbnb host, and I love my life. This business completely changed the trajectory for my life and everything that I'm currently doing. I ended up leaving my 9 to 5. Now I have other streams of income, and I'm just growing and becoming my dream self, all because I decided to take a risk and start this one business using rental arbitrage. So the 5 steps for how you can start this business without saving a lot of money, without owning property, are mentorship, setting up an LLC, getting business credit, then you're gonna furnish it, and then you list it on Airbnb. So I'm gonna walk you through specifically how each of those 5 steps will go and how I did them. So the first one is mentorship. This is the first step, and this is so important because so many people, they think that they can do this themselves. They think that they can just start this business with no clue in the world, just using YouTube University, using TikTok, whatever the case is, and that wasn't me. I actually scrolled for so long before ever starting anything, and it wasn't until I got the opportunity to have a mentor that I took the first step, and I ended up launching in under 6 months. So the reason that I chose to go the mentorship route is because somebody already did the same business that I wanted to do. Somebody already did those mistakes. Somebody already wasted so much money and learned from it, and now they have so many properties, so many experiences, and ultimately I could learn from them. So y'all, the reason my thought process behind that was, why would I start on my own and I could just learn from somebody else who's done it before? And this isn't just new. Everybody, when they hear mentorship, some people are like, oh, I don't know if I want to do it, blah, blah, blah. But the main thing is you need to be thinking about yourself. If you don't invest in a mentor, you're honestly selfish. And you're thinking about wasting money, because the money that you're going to pay to invest in a mentorship is way less than how much it's going to cost you if you do it on your own and you make so many mistakes. Y'all, I cannot tell you how many people reached out to me and told me that they started this business before, they had a property, they're shutting it down. All of these things because they didn't invest in a mentor, and now they're ultimately losing $20,000, 60, however much money, because they ended up having to pay rent out of pocket because they didn't do market research. They ended up having to do all of these things, and ultimately they could have been avoided if they would have invested in mentorship. So step 1 for me was investing in a mentor to teach me everything. And not only that, but literally the reason that this mentorship changed my life is because having a one-on-one coach, somebody doing what you're doing, it doesn't just teach you about the business, but it gave me the vision for the lifestyle. My mentor was also 1 year older than me. So I'm like, if he can do that, he's living in my dream city, living in Miami, doing exactly what I want to do, has all these different multiple businesses. It just gave me the aspirations to be like, if he can do that, so can I. So I really highly suggest you get a mentor. That way you see what's possible for yourself, and it's gonna make you go 10 times harder. Like if you're working with somebody who's doing that and you have them in your capacity, you're able to ask any question, you're able to get their assistance on anything. That is what you should 100% be doing. And from that, I've been able to start my own mentorship now and help people start this business, all because of that one decision. So the first step is getting a mentor. The second step is setting up your LLC. This is another thing that so many people fail to do. And this is so important because you need to set the foundation for your business so that you protect yourself. Now, this is a huge step because you're officially a business owner. Like, this is a business. I don't know why people try to make it seem like it's a side hustle. You can 100% do it on the side of your job, but you have to run this like an actual business, because it is. People are making 6 figures, $1 million, me in my case 5 figures, because that is the possibilities with this business, y'all. It is a business model. So with that being said, you need to set it up as a real business. So you need to get you an LLC, limited liability company, and this will protect you and your personal assets from anything that occurs. So say there's any damages, a guest goes crazy, they try to sue you, whatever the case is, landlords, you can protect yourself by setting this up. Not only that, y'all, but once you set up your LLC, you are eligible for what we call business funding. And so this is going to be business credit cards, and that leads me to step 2. Once you set the foundation for your business by getting your LLC, then we go to step 3, my bad, not step 2. Step 3, which is applying for business credit. Now, A lot of people think that they need a bunch of money to start. And like I just told you guys, I didn't own the property and I also didn't have any money saved up. How did I do this? With business credit. So in order to be eligible for this business credit, you need to have a personal credit score and you need to have an LLC. So that is why you set up your LLC. You set up all the things you need to be an official business owner. That way you can go in and you can apply to places like Chase, American Express, Bank of America, US Bank. All of these places, they have what we call 0% business credit cards. And what these are is they're 0% APR, meaning that you don't have to, they're not charging you any interest between, usually like all these credit cards have between 9 and 12 months where you have to pay no interest. So what that meant for me is I got approved for an Amex card that was $11,000, y'all. First shot. Never applied for any other credit cards, no proof of revenue. Like literally I was a new LLC, only open for a couple months, and Amex approved me for $11,000. So I say that to say the opportunities are endless and they want to give these new businesses funding. All you need to do is set it up correctly. So I had the assistance in setting it up. And once I did that, I went and applied, got approved. Now it's a 0% business APR credit card. So what that means is I started this in March. I have between March of 2026 before I have to get any interest. So ultimately, I spent only $5,000 for my unit for furnishing, setup costs, permits, all of that was under $5,000. And with that, I'm not getting charged interest on it. So all I have to pay if I continue to not use the card is just the monthly payment. And the monthly payment is literally between $100 and $200. So the beautiful thing about these cards, like I said, Chase, Amex, US Bank, all of these different institutions have them, and they're good for you because ultimately you spend however much you need to get your unit, and then you just pay the minimum monthly payment until you make it all back. And y'all, literally the $5,000 that I invested to start my unit, I made it back in month 4. So ultimately, I didn't do this, but you can take all of that you make, slap it on that credit card, and repeat the process. You know, you just keep doing that, or you keep getting more business credit cards, you keep stacking them, because one credit card is $11,000, but that's just with Amex for me. Once I apply for Chase, I can get $50,000, $20,000, and you're stacking it. So now I have upwards to $100,000 in business funding, all at a 0% interest rate. These are the best way to start this business, to start any business, because you don't have to have any upfront capital. And for this, a lot of people think to start real estate, oh, I need so much money saved up. I can't start because I need to have 20,000 in the bank, 10,000 in the bank. No, all you gotta do, get your personal credit together, and then boom, you're eligible for business credit. And really quick, I'll share with you the personal credit requirements that you need to have to be eligible for this funding. You need a personal credit score to get the best, the most maximum funding. You need to have a personal credit score of at least 700 or more. I like to say 750, but if you want to go for it at 700, you'll still get something, but you might not get the most that you can get. But at least 700. So if you're in the 600s, just wait, grow your credit score a little bit, get some things off your credit report, and then go in for funding. Not only that, but you need a 700 credit score or above, and you need to have a minimum personal credit limit of at least $5,000. What this does, this shows the banks that you have a credit history and that you meet that minimum credit line, because they're not going to give you money if they don't see that you have current personal credit cards. So if you have no personal credit cards, you got to get some personal credit cards. You can't just have a 700 credit score, no personal credit cards, and think that you're going to get eligible for this funding. You have to have some personal credit cards, some credit history, because there were a few banks that denied me. I got denied by US Bank and Truist when I tried to apply because of my lack of credit history. All I have is one Discover credit card with a $6,000 credit limit, and that's what allowed me to get business funding after my score was like 750, and I had that credit limit. I got $11,000 from Amex. So that shows you a perspective of how much you kind of need to have to get business credit. But that's about all for step 3, which is getting business credit. Now, step 4 is the nitty gritty, because once you have the money, then you can go into finding your property. Y'all, excuse me, I'm gonna take a little sip of tea. Isn't my cup so cute? It like looks like me. But anyway, okay, step 4, finding a property. So this is when you're gonna go and you're gonna utilize Zillow. You can use Redfin, and you're gonna look for properties within your budget. Look for properties that have a good profit potential, because you're not just gonna see a property that looks so nice. Because y'all, this happens to me, this happens to everybody. You see a property, it's so nicely, it's renovated, the decor, it's like black matte finishes. You're like, oh my gosh, I love that. That doesn't mean you can put that on Airbnb. And that's the mistake so many people make, and that's why they lose money and they shut their property down. No, Everything that goes into this step for finding a property is so important, because once you find a property that you like, then you need to go run the numbers. You need to do market research. Running the numbers means literally taking your rent, taking your estimated furnishing costs, taking your security deposit, everything you're gonna have to pay before you get into the property. You need to do the math and calculate that so that you know an estimate of how much you're gonna make, if it's gonna be a good investment, if you're gonna lose money. You need to look at all of these things before you go and sign a lease. So how do you do that? You utilize tools like AirDNA. This is what you're gonna use to find the occupancy rate and the average daily rate. The occupancy is gonna be for the month. So say we're using August as an example. For the month of August, there's about 31 days. Within the 31 days, your occupancy is gonna vary by how many days booked it is within that month. I hope that makes sense. So say your unit is booked like 31 days of the month, and that's 100% occupancy. But then as it goes lower, like as you know, the days that you have booked are decreased, that's the occupancy. So what AirDNA will tell you though, it'll tell you here's the average occupancy you need to have at this average daily rate in order for you to break even, in order for you to make some type of a profit. So for example, for my property, when I did the math, it was about 60% occupancy, so it needs to be occupied about 60% of the month, which is like about 15-20 days of the month, at a rate of like 144 per night. So if I charge 144 per night and it's occupied 20 days of that month, then this is how much I'll make. That's the perspective of what occupancy and ADR means. However, don't just use AirDNA. Okay, so once you get those two numbers, so for example, like I said, 60% occupancy and then a 144 ADR, you take those, you need to go and put those into an Airbnb calculator. The Airbnb calculator that I like to use is BNB Flow, and it's bnbflow.ai. I'll put those links in the description, that way you can go exactly there and run the numbers for your property. But you want to go to bnbflow.ai, and that'll be exactly how you can put in your average daily rate, your occupancy, the rent, your security deposit, first and last month's rent, what are your utilities gonna be, all of these things, so that you can project how much you're gonna profit. And once you put that in, it automatically tells you, okay, for example, for my property, I put all those in. Okay, you're gonna profit if you're at a 60% occupancy. You'll profit at least $1,200, at least, like that's the minimum. However, that's just a projection. So there can be months where you're 100% occupied. I've seen them before. As a beginner with one property, literally I had a month where I was fully booked the whole month. So at that, then your profit goes up. So it only keeps increasing. Then you're profiting like 1,400, 15,000. You know what I mean? As depending on your unit and everything, it'll give you those exact numbers. So I hope that makes sense. But this is all that goes into finding a property. You just don't want to go on Zillow, find a property, and then just be like, oh, this is cute, let me call this landlord and do that. No, you find a property, reach out to the landlord. Once they get back to you, they say yes, they're not opposed. That's when you run the numbers. And before you sign anything, you do the calculations. That way you're not going to lose money once you get in that property. But when you're reaching out to them, you can just simply send them a message and say, hello, do you allow corporate leasing? Corporate leasing is what you're going to ask them. You're not going to ask them if they allow Airbnb. You're not going to ask them if anything about Airbnb. Don't bring that up until they bring it up. So you're going to say, do you allow corporate leasing? You're going to get them on the phone and you're going to talk to them a little bit about the property. And then you're going to end up asking them, well, are you opposed to allowing me to sublease your property? They're going to be like, what is subleasing? What is that? Like, you're just going to put it on Airbnb? If they say it like that, be like 100% correct. You are correct. What we do is we are a corporate management company and we lease our properties out to our management professional clients. These are clients like medical professionals, travel nurses, business professionals, insurance workers who need to relocate, families who relocate due to disasters. But that is what we do, is we offer furnished housing for our professional clients. We don't do anything with parties. We background check all of our clients. We do cleans every time there's a new thing. You're going to get your rent on time. We handle maintenance, blah, blah, blah. Ultimately, when you're talking to them throughout this step of the finding the property phase, you need to present it to them as how it's going to make their life easier. They honestly don't care about how much money you're going to make, blah, blah, blah. All the landlords care about is, okay, you're going to pay rent on time. Okay, this is going to be way better than a regular tenant because you're a business, so I know you're going to pay me on time. My property, I'm going to get it back. It's going to be in pristine condition. It's not going to be messed up like it is with the regular tenant, and all of these things. There's another list, and I can do another video specifically about how to talk to landlords, but for the purpose of this video, we'll just talk about finding a property. So that is step 4. Now, step 5, once you get your property, you run the numbers. Okay, assuming you ran the numbers, you got a yes from the landlord, and then you also provided them an agreement that gave you the permission to sublease the property, because that's important. Assuming all of that is done, you're gonna furnish it. Now, when you're furnishing it, you wanna make sure that you have a budget outlined. So I like to say a good rule of thumb is to do about $1,000 per room. So if it's a 1 bedroom, 1 bath, then like $1,000 for the bedroom, probably about $1,000 for the living room, kitchen $500, and then what is the other thing? The bathroom $500. So you're looking at about $4,000 to $5,000 for a 1 bedroom, 1 bath apartment. So that's just a good rule of thumb to have, but that's what you want to make sure you do. Have a budget and then go shop on a budget. You don't have to go and get expensive things. You don't need to be at Nebraska Furniture Mart. You don't need to be at boutique stores like Rooms to Go. No, go to the little flea market. Go to the thrift store. Check out Goodwill. Check out Facebook Marketplace. Go on Amazon. Like, yo, I got everything for my unit on Amazon. I'm going to pull up the pictures because my unit, I get so many compliments about the decorations, and like even my mentor was like, the way that it looks, you think you'd be doing this for a minute, y'all. And no, so this is my unit. And so literally a lot of this stuff is from Amazon, Ross, Burlington, TJ Maxx, Marshalls, Walmart, Target, Marketplace, you guys, heavy on the Marketplace. This table is from like one of those warehouse stores that I found on Marketplace. But like literally, y'all, this kitchen table, Marketplace. So all of that is so important. That just puts into perspective what you want to see in y'all. If you're like, oh, that's not you, that's me, girl. Hosted by Ayana, that's my name. That's my name. So yes, literally everything. I literally got the coffee maker from a girl on Marketplace too. It didn't work, so I don't know if she scammed me. It worked for a few guests, but then I had to get another one, but that's okay. But like literally don't overthink the furnishing part. Just make sure that you make your unit look cozy and cute. I cannot tell you how important this is, and I believe that this is affect my bookings. I'm already a super host. I'm already a guest favorite, and it's only been 4 months. And it's because 1, I take guest communication important, but 2, the way that I furnished my unit. So I put so much love into how I did that because I wanted my space to be somewhere that my guests feel at home. I can't stand when I go to an Airbnb or I go to a hotel and I'm like, I can tell they just threw a bed in here and threw a picture on the wall. Like, it's just giving they don't care. But people will book that. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I'll give an example, like Miami, for example. They don't really do too much on decorations if you just need a quick little studio apartment. Like, if you've stayed in one, you know what I mean. They'll just throw up a little picture, give you a bed, some silverware, call it a night. And that's fine because people will book it. However, the people who spend the most money, the people who will book actual longer stays are people that appreciate decoration like this. Like they appreciate time and effort put into it. So what you can do is you can utilize Pinterest to get inspiration. Use TikTok, get inspiration for the rooms, for design, decor. Learn a little bit, y'all. Things that I've learned. Getting a mirror makes the space look larger. Small lights makes it look more luxury. And what I wanted for my brand was luxury. My company is Elegant Escape Stays, so I wanted really luxury type of feel when my guests come and stay in my unit. If that's not your goal, like if your goal is like funky, like edgy, artsy, whatever your vibe is, decorate like that and look up inspiration on Pinterest. And just those are going to be the type of guests that you attract, like guests who prefer things like that. And that's what's going to set you apart. That's what's going to increase your bookings. And that is what's going to make people look at you like, wow, I love staying with them and I will stay with them again. So that's step 4. Now the 5th step is listing on Airbnb. So I just showed you guys my listing, but there's some things that I'll point out that are important. When you list it on Airbnb, you want to have an SEO title. What is an SEO title? Search engine optimized title. So my title of my unit is West Nashville Stay, 10 minutes to Broadway. So wherever your unit is, whatever it's by, attractions, put those right here. Not even that, but when you're doing your pictures, get professional photos. That's important. It does cost. It'll cost about probably $200 to $300. It depends, but it's so worth it because it looks so much better. So don't be cheap. Don't take it with your phone because be real with yourself. Like if you saw a unit that looked like the picture you were taking on the phone, would you stay there? Because I wouldn't. I always look on Airbnb and I'm like, yeah, no thanks. You know what I mean? So do pick a professional photographer. There's people out there. And yeah, make sure you put your first pictures, like show your amenities. Like you see I have the Jenga games there. It shows it's family friendly. Like things like that are important when you're listing on Airbnb. And not only that, but you need to put your descriptions These are so important. So what you can do is you can utilize ChatGPT to make search engine optimized descriptions and titles. Have emojis, make it into lists. Don't just throw a paragraph up there about the description of your unit and expect people to book. You need to make it as easy as a process for the guests as you can. That way they book, they see the things that pop out. Like for example, mine has 10 minutes to downtown. Free parking, surrounded by restaurants and shopping, minutes from the Nations, Broadway, Nissan Stadium. All of these things are large in Nashville, and so you want to incorporate those when you're listing your unit. I can also do another video about that because this is something that's so important and a lot of people lack that. But you need to make sure you have a very in-depth thing. And not only that, but you want to make sure you translate them. So when you go in and you list your unit on Airbnb, you can do a translation option. Have it in Spanish because you don't want to miss out on money all because you didn't translate your descriptions. So I hope that makes sense. But those are the 6 steps that I took to start this business without any property ownership, without a large savings. And I hope that helps. Make sure you really follow step 1 ultimately. That way you have a better idea of how to do all of these steps in depth, because the mentorship is the thing that'll make or break you. You can 100% do this alone, but it may take longer. You may waste more money, all of these things. So just get a mentor so that they can show you. And if you like this video and you want to see more like this, then make sure you like and subscribe so that I can keep bringing you more videos just like this one. I'll see you guys in the next video. And thanks for sitting here with me today.